Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to part 2 of Let's Play Stellaris MegaCorp. In the last part, I explained pretty much everything new about the new bars, and I got through most of these as well. I got through all of these, I think. Yeah, I did. Now we're going to talk about the planetary changes. And hopefully, we're going to get the game started. So, this is the new planet screen. It's completely different. Buildings are no longer built on tiles. They are built depending on population caps, or how many pops you have. You know, we'll start simple. So now, planets still have planet sizes. They still have planet types, and if that is still the same. The only difference is it depends on how many districts now instead of how many population. So a 25, you still want the bigger planets. You still want the 25s, because that means you can have 25 districts. So that's amazingly good. 19 is actually pretty good for a starting planet, because my starting planets normally have been about 12 or 15. I got shafted in my other games, admittedly, but so basically we can have overall 19 districts. So currently we have 4 city districts. Are literally urban, they're just the urban centers, a large amount of housing and office space for clerical workers. Clerics, as it says there, produce trade value and amenities. That's 2, obviously, of the new resource types. I will get into those in a minute. Generator districts, rows of massive power plants that generate large amounts of energy, which can then be used or converted into energy credits. These provide technician jobs. Technicians are basically what it says there. They produce energy credits. Now, as you'll notice with these, this produces like a city district just gives you housing and a cleric job, a single cleric job, and you can get more from techs and institutions. Traditions. I believe traditions has effect on that, but it's definitely technology does. Whereas generated districts will always give you 2 jobs and 2 housing, so it houses the 2 jobs that it creates. So creating these districts, you don't need to create housing on top of them if you want to go for full type of planet with maybe full generators, full mineral, full agriculture, stuff like that. But yeah, so mining districts produces miners, mining jobs who produce minerals, and these mining towns and resource extraction centers drill deep into the mantle to access mineral deposits. So these produce minerals. Minerals, obviously, we discussed in the last part, are used to create, used to create consumer goods and alloys. An agriculture district creates farmers. Farmers obviously produce food. And let's just read the little description. Land set aside for cultivation, either through the growing of crops or animal husbandry. So essentially, these are the districts, and this is the amount of districts we can have. These little ones with the red lines through are ones that are currently can be built, but there are blockers in the way. Now, first thing what we're going to do is we're going to look at planetary features, because this is where your tiles are now. These are your tiles, and there are rare features now as well as shows how many blockers. So we're looking. If we look here, you can just show planetary features, or you can click on these blockers and it'll bring up the menu as well. Same with rare planetary features. The only thing, and there's also terraforming there, which at the moment we obviously can't do. But let's go through them. So currently we have industrial wastelands. Blockers now just get rid, stop you having more districts. So essentially, just like before, they block a part of your planet, and all you have to do is remove them to then access it. But tiles now are very different. So we'll go through the hot spring. So hot spring is a tile that gives you an extra generator district. Whereas rushing waterfall gives you an extra 2 generator districts, and underwater vents gives you an extra 3. So these are the 3 basics, types of ones that give you generators. So there's also mineral fields, ore-rich caverns, and submerged ore veins, which gives you 1, 2, and then 3 respectively. Green hills give you +2, lush jungles give you +2, and then teeming reef give you +3 agriculture. So essentially, you can have different amounts of agriculture generator districts and mining districts, depending on the actual types of tiles you have at your disposal. There are general tiles, which don't give you any bonuses, but we have rushing waterfalls and another lush jungle underneath industrial wasteland and a sprawling scrum. So essentially, we clear those, we get these, and then we can then build up to the max. And we still have to obviously adhere to the amount of the amount of districts we can have. So it's still not like, oh, I can have as many as I want. You still need to obviously do it in the right way. Now, let's move on to the next thing. We'll talk about buildings next. Buildings are pretty much the same. The only difference is each building creates a job instead of doing something directly. So we've got the alloy foundries, which produce alloys, but they obviously you need metallurgist jobs. Now, buildings do not produce housing. You do need to. This is why. So essentially, you could have like max city districts and then maybe just one or two of the like 2 districts underneath it, and then you'd have that planet as like an advanced, like a center for advanced jobs. So you'd have loads of population, but you'd be worried like using jobs through these buildings to essentially fill out your workforce and fill out the planet for jobs. So because of course you do not want unemployment on a planet. So like obviously that's metallurgists do that. Artisans turn minerals into consumer goods. Clerics produce trade value and amenities. Trade value is this little thing here. Trade value represents civilian day-to-day economic activity. Starbase collect trade value and convert it into resources such as energy credits if connected to your capital planet through a trade route. Trade routes essentially are we'll get into that in a minute because I'm going to go over the Starbase afterwards. Trade value that is directly collected by your capital Starbase does not need a trade route to generate resources. So as you can see, we get 15.6 trade. We will be getting a lot more because of this, but because it hasn't ticked a single day, it hasn't collected that. But of course, this is produced, as it said, through the clerks. Clerks can be gathered through the city districts and commercial zones. I believe there is another way to collect, getting more of them yet, through resource silos. And that is currently all I can think of. Next is the corporate culture site, which is the manager jobs. Managers turn consumer goods into unity, trade value, and society. So that's pretty cool. You get them from that as well. Hollow theaters produce entertainers. Entertainments turn consumer goods into unity and amenities. Amenities, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, are basically represent the planetary infrastructure and jobs dedicated towards fulfilling the day-to-day needs of the populace. A planet that does not meet the amenities needs of its populace will suffer penalties to happiness. You can increase amenities by employing plops in various jobs, such as entertainers. So basically, amenities are just basically like the basic shit you need, and consumer goods are a little bit more practical, a little bit more like luxury stuff. So we have luxury residence, which actually produces amenities by itself, which is actually pretty cool, and then it provides just free housing. So you can have there is a building to produce housing. We then have the precinct, which produces enforcers. Enforcers produce unity, decrease crime, and spawn defense armies. So defense armies can now be produced through precincts, and they also double of reducing your crime rate. Crime, I mean, just having one precinct gives you an extra 2 cops, which give you another 50 minus 50 to that. So I haven't actually run into a crime problem yet, but early days. Research labs, researchers turn consumer goods into research points for new tech. So essentially, we just produce 2 research jobs, and then those jobs do the obviously research and whatnot. Research silos are as simple as giving you extra storage and giving 2 clerk jobs. And then the stronghold gives you 1 housing and gives you a soldier. So obviously houses the soldier. Soldiers increase naval capacity and spawn defense armies. So essentially, that's a way to get your naval cap up. So with these buildings, like I said, you can build a building-focused planet, or you can have a mix. The problem with that is you can't really level up buildings too much, because you then start running out of population for housing and whatnot, and it becomes it becomes weird. But we'll see what we can do. But as you can see, every 5 pops you gain a new building slot up to 75. 75 being pretty that used to be 3 planets worth of people to us before. Now you can get that on a single planet. It's amazing. Anyway, so let's continue going through these. We've got districts, so this just shows how many districts you have currently on the planet, and then it gives you a little breakdown of which ones you have if you didn't want to look there. Current population, and this is ruler jobs. This is jobs, so it shows you the different ruler jobs, specialists, and workers. So essentially, it gives you the little different breakdown of the jobs you've currently got without having to go into population. Amenities obviously shows you how many amenities are produced, how they're used, and obviously where they're spent, and what effects they get as well. Housing, very simple. But I'll read this anyway. Housing represents planetary infrastructure dedicated to housing the population. A planet that does not meet the housing needs of its populace will suffer penalties to stability and may experience immigration. You can increase housing by constructing additional districts on the planet. And then current unemployment. Unemployment obviously is just how many more population pops is over this, but it gives you a very quick breakdown, so you don't have to try and do maths. So population. This, and as you'll notice, this, oh no, this stays there. So stability, I'll quickly go through stability because it was on the first page. Stability is a measure of the overall political stability of the planet, is primarily determined by the overall pop approval rating of the population. So essentially, it's just how stable the planet is. But stability can be reduced by conditions such as overcrowding, low amenities, and crime. A planet with high stability will increase resource production, with a planet with low stability will suffer penalty and may experience negative events or in full-scale revolt. So that's pretty simple. And crime is a measure of the overall level of criminal activity and the lawlessness of a planet. A high level of crime causes negative events to occur on the planet and may reduce stability. It is naturally caused by having large planetary population and can be reduced by increasing competitiveness or employing enforcers. So that's pretty simple. But let's go through the demographics. So currently we have a yield out growing, and later on in the game you can you only have one pop growing at a time. You can click on this eventually. If you have planetary population controls, and you can choose which pop you wish to grow, if any is allowed to grow on a planet. And basically, you just select what one you'll get a drop down. You select the planet and you'll lock them and say you only want these to grow. It's a pretty cool system if you're trying to be a slaver, and you want to like ensure only your pop grow. Assembling is obviously for building building stuff like robots. And population decline, I haven't actually had anything in here, but that's just it's just when population is going down, because I mean one pop obviously is it's one pop, but obviously you can lose one pop due to declining and so on and so forth. And this is a pretty breakdown of the ethos and actual population of the people. Happiness is, or pop approval rating. This rating value is the overall pop happiness of the planet, averaged out between all pops. Pops with a higher amount of political power, such as rulers, under the most living standards, count more towards your approval rating than those of a lower social class. A planet with a low approval rating will reduce stability and may experience more crime. So essentially, very simple. The rest of these three are the same. But I do apologize later if I'm going too quickly. Please just tell me in the comments if I'm going too quickly, and I will slow down for the next every other part. So these last two are migration. There is no migration on this planet currently, but when you have migration, I'm just going to explain it quickly. You have a growth level. But if you have migration, the planet that is people emigrating from, or migrating from, is it? I can't remember. Basically, the people who leave the planet take away from your growing population, and then the people on the other planet increase growing population. So essentially, it's like saying people are going over there, and it's slowing your growth rate because they're leaving to go to another planet. That's essentially that. So you don't lose population. So it's not like population just goes to another planet, though I believe they can do that. It's as simple as these populations are just leaving. But we'll read this anyway. Migration represents the overall level of immigration and migration occurring on the planets. A planet with immigration will have faster pop growth, while a planet with immigration contributes to the growth of other planets, but will have its own pop growth speed reduced. So that's basically what I just said. And pop assembly capacity. Pop assembly capacity represents the total capacity of the planet to artificially create new pops. For most types of empires, pop assembly comes from robotics jobs and is used to build the robot pops. So let's go through the populations. So currently we have rulers, executives who require nothing but produce unity, amenities, and trade. These guys are they're basically executives, and they obviously you can see what they produce in their upkeep right there. The executives are stratum rulers. They produce 5 amenities, 4 trade value, and 2.1 unity. They do of course have general upkeep, but not upkeep in the sense of like their job. It's just the people have upkeep. So next are the specialists. Specialists are all the higher jobs such as artisan, enforcer, metallurgist, and researchers. So artisans basically take as much, like they take as many minerals as they can and produce near enough an equal amount of, normally sometimes more, sometimes less of obviously consumer goods, depending obviously on how the planet is feeling. Enforcers actually don't require anything other than an upkeep of the person, but they produce reducing crime and unity. Metallurgists, again, they produce alloy. Alloys is, because of how important alloys it is, you produce alloy quite, like, it takes obviously a lot of minerals to produce alloys. So you do want quite a few metallurgists, but at the same time you don't want to overdo it, because 9 a month weirdly is actually quite a good amount, and there is the market if you ever need it, and you can do priority, but we won't be messing with that for a while. And researchers, they consume the goods and they produce 999. So basically, you're getting a lot of research from those two workers there. So that is how this works. Obviously, they all have the same thing. And workers, You have clerks who don't cost anything other than their upkeep, and they produce modifier immunities and trade value. Now, as we are a mega corporation, we will be having loads of clerks, probably about 30 or so on our capital, probably more, because clerks are so good for us. Like we will probably just have planets dedicated towards mineral food and then producing the other stuff, because like energy credits can be really farmed if you have enough clerks on a planet. Because you don't actually need to police this trade value; it just directly you just directly claim it, and it's amazing. Farmers obviously don't require anything but produce food, same as miners and technicians. They don't actually require anything, but they do produce stuff. As you can see, due to the fact that we currently only have one generator and 2 of the other 2, we are producing a lot more other things, like of the other resources than energy. That can be remedied pretty quickly, though our energy will probably mostly come from trade, because that's just the best way to do it. And then armies are pretty much the same. It's just, a little bit cooler layout and whatnot. And you can assign a general there to protect the planet. Pretty simple. Now over here it shows you that we're currently, it's got a little thing, but this is just basically saying we can build another building. We technically can't, because all buildings are really, really expensive at the moment, and we're not really ready to invest in that. Now, spaceships. Starbase, and I do apologize, ladies and gentlemen, that we haven't played a single day, but I do want to really explain stuff for a change instead of just going into a game and obviously losing a few people along the way because I didn't explain anything. I probably made this complete up way too much, but it doesn't matter. So Starport is essentially the same. The only difference is you can now, obviously they require different things to construct, and it's now they take alloy, and colony ships take food, alloy, and consumer goods to make it a little bit more realistic. Now, the only new building I can think of so far is Trade Hub, a civilian docking area where merchants and traders conduct business, which basically collect your trade resources, these little guys, from the systems. So basically, at the moment, we're collecting from 1, so I believe that means we're collecting from here. Eventually, we'll collect from 2 if we build another one, and then 3. So essentially, it's every star away needs a starbase. So if you had all 6 of these dedicated to trade hubs, so you would 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. So if they were all connected, we'd connect loads, and we'd collect loads and loads from that. And essentially, we wouldn't need to have another starbase anywhere near us, but we'd then obviously have to police it because, how trade works. Now, right, let's actually get into playing the game. So first things first, I'm actually probably going to collect the research there, because research is evil. And I'm going to take a guess. I'm going to guess that this is where our planets are. Our planets we're ready to colonize. So ladies and gentlemen, let's get going. Right, there we go. We've played a day. Oh, wait, no. It's the end of the month. Should tick over. The end of the month, a lot of the stuff now does need to go into the end of the month to actually click. So let's just give it some time. Very happy with our planet. We've got good stuff. We are currently losing 1 energy credit on our planet because the trade hasn't clicked over. So let's just... there you go. As you can see now, we're now producing 35 from trade. Our trade capital is now making... Everything's clicked into place. So, as you can see, we're making a lot of money from trade because that's the way the game is. That is the way we're currently built. And that is how we should be doing it, because we're a conglomerate. We want money. So, what else was I going to show you? I was going to show you something else. I forget things. Doesn't matter. So yeah, trade. No research. There is. Look at those months. God, they take quite a long time, but it doesn't actually feel as long. And I was right. There's the ocean. There's our first colony. Now, we do have 50 administrative cap, but at the same time, going over that is going to hurt us a lot more due to our mega corporation. So, and we also have cohesion, but we'll go over cohesion whenever we, we start presenting a problem to it. Now, there are decisions you can make on planets, from declare martial law, normal, discourage planetary growth, which makes no sense why you would do that on this planet at the moment. But it is very useful later. Distribute luxury goods, basically that makes people have more amenities and immigration pull. Essentially, you do this on a new planet to increase people growth. And encourage planetary growth, you do that as well to just basically do these two on a new planet, and you will essentially be milking that new planet for people. This is a size 16. Currently, we don't know anything about it.
We built something.
And ladies and gentlemen, you're going to learn very quickly that I love this advisor that we have. because he is so sarky, and he just is brilliant. He uses some of the funniest like ways of saying things that any guy could, like any advisor could use. Now, as we're a conglomerate, I'm actually going to try and focus heavily on energy production and mineral production early on, and eventually we're going to start moving into the alloy trade, because eventually we're going to just start because alloys is probably one of the best things to sell. Actually, it is the best thing to sell. It sells for the most. So if we start like an alloy production, we sell a lot of alloys. Life's going to be great for us. But at the same time, on our main planet, I'm probably going to go for a pure city district. Like, I just have loads of city districts and just basically milk commercial zones and have all of the trade value in my capital just be amazing. Now, we can also build little hubs on other people's planet, corporate hubs. I have not done that yet because my obviously, being an arms and tech conglomerate, we're not the friendliest people you want. We are ruthless traders, essentially. Now, the first building I'm going to build is going to be a commercial zone, because it's honestly one of the best things. So we're actually going to read these as well. So, discovery of alien life. The ISS... Oh, I forgot to change that. Doesn't matter. ISK tool has made a startling find on Walton 3. The planet is teeming with alien life. For the first time in history, we have encountered life forms that did not originate on Yildar. This amazing discovery has silenced those who believed we were alone in the universe. Although none of the alien creatures were found on Watom 3 are sapient, it is most likely only a matter of time before we encounter beings that are. That just gives us some society research, as it always did. This planet is perfectly colonizable, 90%. Currently, it has no rare planetary features. It is an agricultural beast. So this is going to be our food world. Unfortunately, I don't think you can tag planets to say food world, because it's currently not in our border anyway. But that is going to be where we basically put a crap ton of food. Like, that's going to be our food producer, because holy crap, that's 8 districts. And and as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, some blockers reduce 2, knock your thing down by 2. So you've got to really be careful on those blockers. Contract report, Planetary Animalia. The Ildar Arms and Tech Conglomerate is a buzz of news of alien life found by the ISS Irask Tusk Atoll. While hardly intelligent by Ildaran standards, the fascinating beings defy easy classification and hint at the immense complexities of the possibilities of the universe. Words. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to make this 25 minutes. Sorry about this, I'm just reading an email there, sorry about that. Yeah, so we're going to have this be a 25-minute part, because I'm just really enjoying this game, and I want to make this part a little bit longer, because I did take a lot of the first part explaining, and a lot of this part I was explaining, so yeah. So we're going to be building a starbase here straight away and milking this for food, because once we hit a cap of food, we can, well, food is actually what I sell early on. It's one of the... It is along with minerals, one of the most worthless trade resources. But early on, it's good to sell.
Prospect analyzed.
I fucking love this. I love this voice. It's just so good, ladies and gentlemen. It's so good. Now, all we found here was physics, which is unfortunate, admittedly, but it happens. Like a lot of systems now are nowhere near as resource filled as they used to be. But that's because there's so many resources now and so many things that you need that it's a little bit more based on your planets. Or at least that's in my experience. I might have just fucked up the settings, but you never know. Now, trade will eventually be going over soon enough. First things first, though, is to try and grab here and here, so we can block off the galaxy. I don't actually think this star goes anywhere. So I think as long we have to just get there, so we can have an exit to our little stretch of the galaxy. Though we will be colonizing this near immediately, so I can have 8 districts. I'm going to have all 8 of these districts. So we can have 16 districts. 8 of them will be here. Probably 1 of each of these, and then the rest will be city districts. Or we just have pure food. I haven't decided yet. Districts, though, are expensive and do take up a lot of minerals. So 300 for that, 500 for city districts. City districts take longer, but you don't actually have a limit on city districts. Other than the obvious, like the limit of the actual, limit, the normal limit. Now we're going to build a science ship because I should have done that earlier, because 2 science ships vessels is better than 1. Once this is constructed, we're obviously going to prepare an immediate colony there. We just need 200 alloys, which admittedly we can just buy. It does feel a bit cheap just buying stuff, but at the same time it's like, yeah, that makes sense. Like that's logical. Why wouldn't we buy stuff? I don't look at the galaxy through this perspective enough. Like it's such a nice way to look at the game. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we've played for 25 minutes. I hope you guys have enjoyed, and in the next part, ladies and gentlemen, will be a lot less exposition or explaining, but we'll be getting to the game, but I'll still be explaining along the way. Hope you guys have enjoyed. I'll see you guys next part. See you guys then.